The People Under the Stairs is a 1991 released horror film directed by Wes Craven.
Yes, it's about a family that live in a Los Angeles ghetto. Well, the mum of the family is sick and needs money for operations. I think she got cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but they don't have the money to pay for any healthcare for her. And they also haven't got any money to pay their rent, and so they've just been served an eviction notice. So the young boy of the family, played by
Brandon Adams.
That's the one, Brandon Adams. Who's his name's Poindexter, isn't it? But his nickname is Fool. They find out who the landlords are of a lot of the properties in this ghetto, and there's stories circulating that these people have a big stash of gold coins in their house. So they know where they live, and they want to. They feel like they're trying to force everybody out of this neighbourhood so they can bring richer people in. So it's a kind of gentrification, basically, of this area, trying to get all the poor people out and bring in all the money. So they think, they'll go and have a look, see if they can get these gold coins off these unscrupulous landlords. And so there's some petty criminals in the form of Ving Rhames and Jeremy Roberts who take Fool along to this house to scope it out and see what's going on. So first of all, they dress him up as a Boy Scout kind of thing to sell cookies, and he has a little look at the house. And you can see there's like bars on the windows and padlocks on the outside, which is a bit strange. It's like they're trying to keep something in.
Yes.
And the lady of the house is a bit odd, who's played by Wendy, Robie. Yeah. So he's unsuccessful. He doesn't manage to sell her any cookies or anything. The lady of the house goes out, so they see their opportunity to go and have a look, see if they can find these gold coins. But what they find is, an angry Rottweiler and the people under the stairs.
Clever.
Yes. So Wendy, who the character is called Mummy, and Everett Mcgill, who plays Daddy.
Never trust married couples that call each other Mummy and Daddy. No. It's just,
So, bit weird. They return, and obviously they don't like the fact that some people have broken into their house.
No, who would?
No, quite.
Most people would just call the police.
Yeah, but they don't know. They don't do it. They don't do that for reasons that are revealed, involving gimp suits and shotguns and.
Yeah, what is it with Ving Rhames and gimp suits?
I don't know.
Don't get it.
Doesn't have much luck with them.
It doesn't. No.
So it goes on from there, and we find out who these people under the stairs are.
We do.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Well, we won't tell you because that then would be spoilers.
It would be.
Yeah, indeed. So, People Under the Stairs.
Yes.
Wes Craven. Mm-hmm. Great director. Obviously, we all know who Wes Craven is. Unfortunately, died a few years ago. Nightmare on Elm Street, classic movie. Scream, classic movie.
Yep. And others.
He's made some great films, actually. What's the one with Bill Pullman with the Serpent and the Rainbow?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that?
No.
Phenomenal film. You never seen it?
No, I haven't. No.
It's a great film.
Shocker,
great film. Yeah, I was a big fan of Wes Craven when I was younger. I think I saw Nightmare on Elm Street. It was probably the first I saw of his, and that film really blew me away. It was so terrifying and strange and odd. I don't think any of his other films are quite as absurd as Nightmare on Elm Street, but I've always really enjoyed his work. And
because we're forgetting about his early work, like Last House on the Left.
Yeah, Last House on the Left and
Hills Have Eyes.
Hills Have Eyes. Yeah, he's always been a kind of a really interesting filmmaker. And so I think this. I think this was on the telly, and I recorded it, and then I just watched it over and over. I watched this so many times as a kid. And I always really enjoyed it, and I hadn't actually seen it for about 20 years or so, and I watched it again for this, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I used to, but it's still great fun, and it's it rides along at a good pace, and it's got some interesting ideas in there, and I think obviously Everett Mcgill and Wendy Robie obviously were used because they're most famous as being the husband and wife team in Twin Peaks. Mm-hmm. And they are completely mental in this film. Yeah. And they are quite... I wouldn't say... I don't think... This film is not terrifying, whereas Nightmare on Elm Street is terrifying. This film is more like a comedy.
Yeah.
An over-the-top comedy. And there's some quite freaky stuff in there. And there's a couple of moments, actually. There is one moment quite late in the film. So obviously they have this daughter in the film, played by AJ Langer. She's called Alice in the film. And she's kind of being kept up. So, to go back a little bit. So Wes Craven apparently based this on a real life case from 1978, where two African Americans broke into a house somewhere in America, and that then led the police to find two children that had been locked in the basement. So obviously we are in territory that comes up a lot in America and in other countries too. Obviously there was the recent, the parents who had all their kids locked up in the basement.
It happens far too often.
It happens far too often in America, and not just America, everywhere. Other countries as well. But America seems to have had a fair share of kids locked in basements and abused and not treated well at all. So this is clearly kind of playing on that whole idea. So they have this daughter, and she's in the house, and the boy Brandon Adams, who goes in, he finds her and then decides that he wants to kind of bring her out, save her. But there's one moment later in the film where she's being found out. So basically her parents punish her. There's a religious thing going on here. There's the whole speak no evil, see no evil, hear no evil thing going on, and any child who speaks evil is to be either, pushed aside or abused or something like that. So there's a moment later in the film where she's kind of tied up in the attic of the house, and there's a very odd moment where Everett Mcgill's character, Daddy, comes in all in his Gimp suit, and it's kind of half of it's quite creepy, but then half of it's actually very funny because he's a very funny actor. And it's a very strange moment, and it's weirdly one of my favourite moments in the film. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the visual look of it. It's just a great moment, and I think Everett Mcgill is hilarious. I love him in Twin Peaks, and Wendy Robie too. I think they're great in Twin Peaks, and they're great together in this as well. The film is also a kind of like a metaphor for the whole Reagan era. Yeah, there was a lot of that in there.
I mean, it's sort of got lots of subtext. Like I said, I mentioned earlier about gentrification of poor areas. You've got class stuff going on there, race, and capitalism, things like that. So there's lots going on, sort of, subtext of the film that it's not just about people locked in the basement.
I've often thought that, especially, I think you get a lot of that with horror films. A lot of, I don't know so much now. I mean, obviously, Get Out is a recent one, which has kind of underlying themes of racism and things like that. And I think that happened a lot. I think all times, they've all done that. If you go back to like Night of the Living Dead, Night of the Living Dead, I think it's more to do with the Vietnam War than it is actually about zombies coming out and attacking people. There's more going on in a lot of these horror films, especially the kind of the 70s ones. And, obviously there are some zombie films about zombies, but then there are other zombie films about other things going on. And that always, films like that always interest me. I mean, this film is nuts as well. There's a lot of nutty visuals going on. It's almost like reminds me of Home Alone a lot of the times.
A little bit.
It's that caught in a house, and there is the great kind of guy puts his head in the chimney and a brick comes down and crashes on his face. So there's that kind of slapstick humour going on in there too.
I mean, there's sort of is an underlying sort of darkness to it all, and it's. Like The Hills Have Eyes is about a completely messed up family, and obviously that and Last House on the Left are quite nasty.
Oh, they're nasty,
unpleasant films, aren't they?
This isn't nasty. I mean, there's nasty things, there's nasty ideas going on in it, but they don't really show that nastiness.
But the sort of messed up family dynamic is quite similar to Hills Have Eyes. I think.
Definitely, and The Burbs, it's a little bit like The Burbs.
Yeah, I would say
it's got that same kind of. Well, again, weird house in a neighbourhood.
It looks. I think it's it's a kind of a metaphor for America, where it all looks lovely from the outside, but then when you get in, there's something rotten.
Exactly.
Not that I'm saying America is completely rotten, but I mean you could say that about a lot of countries, I'm sure. Where but I think America in particular has a very high opinion of itself, shall we say? Yeah. That we're number one, but from within, they're not. Maybe their healthcare system isn't the greatest, and the education system isn't the greatest. So, but they, from the outside, we're the best.
Make America great again.
Exactly. So it's the house is kind of a metaphor for the whole of the country, I think.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on in here, and it's got I think the cast actually do a great job. Obviously, it's probably an early role for Ving Rhames, who obviously went on to do Pulp Fiction and films like that. The children in it, I don't think have done a huge amount in their acting lives.
The little kid Brandon Adams. He almost carries a lot of the film, doesn't he?
Totally
he's a great little actor.
He carries the film totally himself, and he does it really well. I always enjoyed his performance in this. Ving Rhames is Ving Rhames, kind of, but he's always good. He's always great fun to watch on there. And I suppose you could, because obviously the boy is called Fool, and at the beginning of the film they do actually show someone with a load of tarot cards.
Yeah.
So there is that kind of strange mysticism going on in there too. Like I said, there's lots of things going on in this film. But in a way, you can kind of watch the film and not really read too much into it. It's a good fun horror flick on one side, but then there is a lot going on in there. Which I think actually is a good film. When there's a lot going on in a film, but you don't really need to understand all that. You can just enjoy it as a good horror romp. And I think this one, works for that in that way.
It's only the second time I'd watched it. I remember not being overly. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would when I first watched it. And I think this time again, it wasn't. I think maybe the pacing's a little, for me anyway, the pacing's a little bit off. Obviously you've watched it over and over again, so you're going to have a different opinion. But I don't know, it kind of, for me, it drags a little bit. It could do with being maybe 10, 20 minutes shorter.
Yeah, I would agree with that now, definitely. I think it was, I was probably too young when I first saw this. I used to kind of, they'd show the odd horror film. I think I saw Nightmare on Elm Street on TV. I was quite young, and that really freaks me out. That's, although it's kind of comical as well, it does have some very strange. I always remember the scene with when the girl, she's one of the nightmares, and the girl, she's in the plastic, with all the blood, and she's dead, and it drags down the corridor, which is really eerie and strange, and I think Wes Craven has that appeal to him, that kind of visual eye to him, but. So yes, I was very young when I saw this, so I wasn't in pacing in cinema. I wasn't. I just wanted a bit of fun. But watching it now, I agree. It didn't feel, and plus, because I know it all, I kind of remember what was coming next.
Yeah.
It did start to kind of bore me a little bit after a while,
because there's like sort of passageways in between the walls where they hide from Mummy and Daddy, and I think some of that gets a little bit repetitive because they keep running and hiding, and then the dog's after them and stuff like that. And there's another character, one of the people under the stairs, who's managed to escape from under the stairs in the basement, called Roach. Who's played by Sean Whalen. He doesn't speak because he had his tongue cut out for speaking evil. I think he tried to escape and shout help, didn't he? So for that they cut his tongue out. Indeed. And so. But yeah, he sort of adds another dimension to it, and obviously he knows his way around all these little passages and that. But again, like I say, it kind of, once you've seen a passage, it just for me, it got a little bit repetitive, and I started to lose interest. But no, I think the side of it I like is the performances, and also like we said, all the sort of subtext of other stuff that's sort of going on that as a comment on various aspects of.
Yeah, I think my kind of, if I was to recommend it to anyone, would certainly to fans of Twin Peaks that would like to see those two actors work together again, because they obviously, like I said, Brandon Adams really carries the film, but they are this film, and they're very funny in it, and just him, Everett Mcgill running around the corridors, just kind of moaning and screaming and in his Gimp suit, and it's just those two.
Why does he wear a Gimp suit?
I don't know. They
doesn't really seem to serve any purpose.
They are an odd couple.
Well, yeah.
Odd couples do odd things, and especially odd couples in weird films like this. No, I know. It just comes. It's there one day, and I guess it's maybe just a comical visual. There's a great scene later in the film when Brandon Adams has actually escaped the house, and he calls the cops to say that they are abusing children, and so the police go around to the house, and she's obviously giving them cups of tea and being the kind of the nice lady of the house, and then he's walking around picking up handcuffs, putting them in a cupboard with loads of this Gimp suit in there. It's there for kind of a visual, you know, a comedy visual, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know why he wears a Gimp suit, but
because he likes it.
Because he likes it, and it looks mean and demonic on screen, doesn't it? It's always quite a strange, you know, as in Pulp Fiction. Although it's obviously not Pulp Fiction, not a horror film, but it's not a very, it's an odd thing to wear.
Yeah.
Anyway. I can't think of any other films that are Gimp suits in. Not that I go looking for Gimp suits in films, I have to say.
I'm sure you could find someone who really looked.
I'm sure there are others out there. Anyway, so on that note, we should bring out the DVD or the Blu-ray, which we both have actually.
Yeah.
And this is Arrow's release, so obviously Arrow, the UK company, they put this out.
Yeah.
And you know,
it's Scream Factory released a very similar edition in the States.
Right. Yeah, and as always with, you know, they give you the original poster and then some artwork that they've had commissioned for this release, and it's filled with extras.
Yeah.
And as always, I haven't watched any of the extras.
No.
On it. It's funny actually. I'm not actually a big fan of special features. I like the film. I'm not really fussed in, and a lot of people love that, and that's great. I'm always kind of, I like to watch the film.
Yeah.
I don't need to learn all the ins and outs. Sometimes it's quite fun, special effects films.
I like to have them, but I never find I have the time to watch them.
Well, there is that too. I mean, I love things like, I love watching the making of American Werewolf and all the prosthetics and all that kind of stuff, which is really exciting to look at. But I'm kind of more about just kind of watching the film and getting what I need out of the film and not much else. But it's a nice, you know, it's a nice set, and the quality's.
Yeah, I mean, it probably could do with a bit of a remaster. There's a few like scratches and little speckles and that on the picture sometimes, but you know, I don't think it was restored. I think they just got the transfer off Universal. So yeah, I mean, whether it'll ever be restored, I mean, it's not like a terrible picture or anything. So, but yeah, there's definitely room for improvement, but it's not terrible. So worth checking out if you haven't seen it, or if you have.
So that was The People Under the Stairs, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments below.
Yep, hit the subscribe button up there if you've liked what you've watched, and don't forget to hit the bell to get notifications. There's some other videos to check out over there. Come and find us on Twitter and Facebook, and join us next week for another video.